The name Montana is based on the Latin word for mountainous, and with good reason. Some of the most impressive ranges of the Rocky Mountains are in the state, but there is much more to the state of Montana. Read the text and then answer the questions that follow. From Celebrate the States, Montana, by Clayton Bennett. 1. More than 75 million years ago, huge sections of the Earth's crust collided in western North America. As they pushed against each other, the land was forced upward, forming the Rocky Mountains. Much later, huge sheets of ice called glaciers covered much of the continent. The glaciers scraped out lakes and valleys as they moved, further changing the landscape. The Rocky Mountains, which extend from Canada to Mexico, include the western 2/5 of Montana. Many different groups of mountains make up the Rockies. Montana was more than 50 of these mountain ranges, including the Anaconda, Bitterroot, Salus, Gallatin, and Flathead. Many of Montana's jagged peaks soar more than 10,000 feet above sea level. Some are covered with snow for 10 months a year. At 12,799 feet, Granite Peak in the Beartooth Mountains is the state's highest point. Up near Canada, some of the wildest and most scenic parts of Montana have been set aside as Glacier National Park. Several of the ragged peaks in this park are so sharp and remote that they have never been climbed. The park is also famous for the hundreds of deep blue lakes that are nestled between the peaks. "I can't believe this place," says an exhausted hiker from Illinois. "We passed the most incredible waterfalls. Saw a mother bear and 2 cubs up a tree, and then saw a mountain goat. I mean, it was right here. And when we got to Iceberg Lake, there were actually icebergs in it. I have to head home tomorrow, but I'm coming back next year." High up in the Rocky Mountains, many rivers are born as snow melt tumbles down moss-covered slopes. These trickles eventually turn into cold, fast rivers that are the perfect home for trout. People come from all over the world to fish in the Madison, Gallatin, and Yellowstone rivers, and dozens of other world-class trout streams. Montana is one of the most sparsely settled states. 3 times as many cows live there as people. Only 900,000 people live in all Montana, which works out just 6 per square mile, a larger number than in any state except Alaska. Despite Montana's small population, people have changed the state's environment dramatically. Millions of bison, also known as buffalo, once roamed the vast Montana prairie. Most were slaughtered in the 19th century as settlers entered the region. The few bison that survive in Montana today live on protected reserves or private ranches. As farmers and ranchers took over the plains, other reserves or private ranches. Other animals were pushed west. The grizzly bear was once a plains animal, but the mountains of western Montana are now one of the few places in the country where you can see these mighty creatures, which weigh up to 800 pounds. People have also changed the face of the land itself. To get at Montana's vast reserves of copper and coal, mining companies use a method called open pit mining. They simply scrape away the Earth's surface, leaving a huge hole in the ground. Mining companies also use so-called heap leach mining to get at precious metals. They soaked heaps of crushed rock with a poison called cyanide. The cyanide separates the metal from everything else. It also poisons the water and soil. Some mining operations have left open ponds of cyanide that will take years to clean up. Loggers also changed Montana. First, they cut the trees that were easy to reach on the gentle slopes. After those were gone, they moved on to the steeper slopes of the mountains. The least expensive way to harvest timber on steep slopes is by clear cutting, taking down everything instead of choosing only the best trees. This not only leaves ugly, barren hillsides, but also pollutes streams and disturbs animals. In the 1970s, Montanans became more concerned about the future of their state's environment. Ordinary citizens and politicians began arguing against the use of clear cutting. They reasoned that they lost more in their quality of life and in money earned from tourism than the harvested trees were worth. Between open pit mining, heap leach mining, and clear cut lodging, the face of Montana has been badly scarred. No one knows how long it will take to recover. Today, many Montanans believe that the state's greatest treasure is its natural beauty. But they will have to work hard to make sure that it is passed on to future generations.